everybody. We are back with another episode of the I Want It All podcast, a place where we have real conversations about life, business, finances, all the things, and not just wanting it all, but having the audacity to go for it all. I'm your host, J.Renee, and first things first, if you didn't know, I believe you can have it all. I've gone for it all in life. I'm still going for it all. And I hope that when you watch this podcast, you're inspired to go for it all too. Before we get started, make sure you go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. We need these metrics. They matter. Do you want more of this? Do you want me to keep coming back? If you don't talk back, I'm not coming back, okay? I'm not just going to be talking to the screen for nothing, okay? So I need you to subscribe. I need you to like, and make sure you comment. Let me know how you're enjoying the episode. So today, this is going to be a very special episode. Obviously, you see, I'm here by myself, and I decided to just dress down a little bit, do a little pajamas, a little tea. This is going to be a very special episode that I'm going to call Spilling the Coffee with J.Renee, because I prefer coffee over tea. I decided to ask my following on Instagram, what do you guys want to know? I know there's so many things over the years that people have asked me because of the fact that I am one of those people that I think I've mastered the art of being transparent, but still being extremely private, right? So I show up on this public platform and I'm real, I'm raw, but I'm still extremely private. I believe that there should be something special about you actually knowing me in person. So my friends know a lot about me, but there's a lot of things that you guys may not necessarily know. So I decided to let you guys in on this episode. I asked my Instagram followers to put in the question box anything they want to know, ask me some juicy questions. And to be honest, I probably looked at 2 of them, but the vast majority of them I did not read on purpose because I wanted to have real, raw, just off-the-cuff responses. So we're going to get started. Are y'all ready? I'm ready. Are y'all ready? I think I'm ready. Okay? So, question number 1. Be honest. What has this season of your life really felt like behind the scenes? Oh, I guess y'all just gonna jump right into it. Okay, so as you guys know, and if you don't know, because you may be new here, I'm J.Renee. I'm an author. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a speaker. I have owned an online clothing store for over 12 years. And in January, or actually in December of 2025, I announced that I was closing my business after 12 years. And this has been undoubtedly one of the most challenging seasons of my life. I can't even explain. And I've kind of shared it in previous episodes, but prior to me announcing that I was closing my business, I had just kind of had to come to Jesus where I was like, I don't really like my life and I don't really like the way that it feels. So little by little, God has just uprooted everything. Now things are starting to calm down more, but for a while it had got really, 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 really blurry. And to be honest, it had gotten kind of dark. Not kind of, it was really dark. There were a lot of dark days for me over the course of this last year. Not just with closing my business, but loss. I just lost my grandmother a few months back, and my grandmother passed actually right after I decided I was closing my business. I also decided that, I had moved into my dream home. I was like, I've not been happy the whole time I've been in this house. I don't even think I want to do this anymore. So I decided I was going to sell my house. Then I was in a relationship. The relationship ended. All of this happened back to back to back to back. And all of this happened while I was still showing up, present on social media. Like, people had no idea what was really going on behind the scenes. And closing a business, to be honest, I don't know what's harder, closing a business or starting a business, because closing a business has been really, really, really hard. I had a warehouse with a whole lot of inventory, getting out of that, and then I thought it was going to be much more cut and dry. You guys have seen, I'm sure, like, all these different businesses, a lot of Black-owned businesses particularly have been having issues. I saw Mia Ray put out a statement not too long ago because of just some customer service things, delays with shipments. And Hanifa, y'all were wearing Hanifa out. Shout out to Hanifa. I absolutely support Hanifa. I have several pieces. And I understand how it feels as a small business owner to go through those delays. Well, guess what? Boutique J.Renee was hit with some of the same issues, and I could have just closed and went MIA, but I really felt a strong sense of loyalty to the people that have supported me for years. I didn't want my customers to just be hung out to dry, and I didn't want to look like I just ran off and disappeared. So I have stayed open with substantially reduced operations for an additional, now it's been almost 4 months. This month is going to be the final close. So it's been hard. And in the midst of that, it's been a lot of transition for me behind the scenes. But I know it's been a test of my faith. And so I've really just tried to hold on. And I've tried my best to respond to this season from a mature perspective. I literally told myself, Jay, this is rough, but this is not the first rough season you've been through. This is not the first time I've seen challenges in business. This is not the first time my heart was broken. This is not the first time I've experienced loss. This is the first time I've hit this type of low, so to speak, coming from such a high. But this is not the first time I've seen trouble. And I challenged myself to respond to this season not like a baby, not like someone who was immature and that's never been through life. I've really challenged myself to respond to this season like somebody that knows God. I challenged myself to respond to this season like somebody who knows how to pray. I've challenged myself to respond to this season like somebody who knows the nature of the beast when it comes to business, up seasons, down seasons. I also challenge myself to respond to this like somebody who knows who I am. One thing about me, baby, I'm a hustler. You're not, if you never had to lose it and get it all back from zero, we can't talk about this. I've done this before, baby. I ain't worried. So I've had to challenge myself to just remind myself of what I know and not play into what I feel. Yeah. So that was a long answer to the first question, but y'all told me to be honest. So I was honest. So, there we go. Next question. This is funny. What's one quote unquote rich life habit you had that you're not giving up no matter what? Let me sip something real quick. I got a few habits that I'm not giving up. First of all, I am somewhat of an airline snob. I haven't always flown Delta and I haven't always flown first class. But once I started, I have no intention to stop. That's just me. I like to fly first class. I don't care what I'm going through. I don't care what's happening. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's not, but whatever. Also, I eat good. I don't care what's going on around me. And this is bad. This sounds really bad now that I'm saying it out loud. But I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat what I want. I don't care what day of the week it is. I don't care. I mean, Trump could be sending bombs over Baghdad and I will go to a steakhouse. That's just my drug of choice, okay? I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat, okay? I can lay off shopping. I have laid off shopping. I haven't really been shopping for a while, but I'm going to eat, okay? Next question. I feel like I've answered this before. How did you know it was time to close your business after 12 years? It was God. It was God. I knew that I wanted to change my life. As I said, I had this come to Jesus moment, said it out loud, and I was like, God, I don't like this. I'm ready to shift. But nothing in me ever thought 2 seconds about closing a business. My next chapter had already been planned, which you guys will hear about in the coming months. But I wasn't thinking about closing my business to start a new chapter. I was just going to kind of like merge, just find a way to work things. So I knew it was time when I was praying. Funny enough, I was praying, and this was a really bad prayer day. And when I say bad prayer day, I mean I was snotty in the floor, just wailing, crying. And I was like, God, I'm asking you to do this, and I'm asking you to do that, and you're not doing this, and you're not doing that. Like, what am I supposed to do? And it just hit me. You need to close. And yeah, that sent me into more crying and crying and crying. But when I got up off the floor, I kind of felt a sense of peace. I felt the heaviness, for sure. I felt the magnitude, for sure. But I felt peace immediately. Like I knew this is what I need to do. And a couple of days later, I called my mom, told my mom, and my mom supported it. And after that, it was like, yep, that's what's gonna happen. And even then, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my family. I didn't announce it on social media. I made the decision in September, and I didn't announce it until December. And that just goes to show that a lot of times, you feel like as soon as you do something, you got to go tell the world. And sometimes you need to really just be protective of what's happening with you. You got to work through it first. And I knew I wasn't ready to talk about it. I wasn't ready to talk to people. I wasn't ready to answer questions. I was just too raw. So it was months before I made a public announcement. And so, yeah, I hope you guys take that. Like, you don't have to come to the internet with everything, okay? Sometimes you could just sit with a thing. Okay, next question. Oh, this is good. Y'all asked some good questions. Did you ever feel broke while making a lot of money? Baby, let me tell you something. You don't know what broke feels like until you're making a lot of money and you have a whole lot of bills. That's like different level broke. Like being in college and you just got like, man, I remember the rent in my first apartment was $670 a month. Like, you just got a little rent. You just got little $200, $300 car note. Like, that ain't broke. Broke is when your invoices come with commas. When you got 24 hours to come up with commas. That's broke, baby. When you're making tons and tons of money and your employees are taking home more money than you, that's broke. And that's part of the reason why I knew, like, okay, I need to reset. I obviously, over the years of me being in business, like, I learned a lot of things. And I learned that one of my greatest mistakes was paying myself last and prioritizing everything and everybody before me. And there's a book that I read called Profit First. Amazing book. I highly recommend any entrepreneur read this book. Like, read it. And basically the thesis of the book is talking about how a way to really ensure like financial longevity in a business is for you as the business owner to prioritize profit first and to pay yourself first. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've made over the course of my tenure as an entrepreneur, not just with Boutique J.Renee, because I've been an entrepreneur longer than that, but yeah, I've been in that place where I was totally stretched out financially to where it's like, I'm bringing all this money and I feel like I'm not making any money at all. And so one thing that I'm looking forward to in this next chapter of my life is being very, very, very intentional about every dollar going forward, and building a new foundation where I prioritize me. Not just how I look, not just the stuff and the things. That's one thing that I really divorced in this era of my life. Baby, when I tell you, I don't care nothing about stuff. I don't care nothing about like looking like I got it, which I've never really been into that. I just naturally liked nice stuff. I didn't care nothing what people thought about it. Like, I mean, I've been me like this my whole life. So it has nothing to do with public perception, internet. Like, I'm not that girl. But I remember having a moment where I was walking through my house and, my home was absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful home. Way bigger than what I needed. But it was a beautiful home. And I had thought to myself, well, maybe I don't need to sell it. Like, maybe I could keep this. Maybe I could work it out and do this and do that. And I realized, like, I had this moment where I was like, I'm not going to spend another day stressed out holding on to stuff. I'd rather have less stuff and have a whole lot of peace than have no peace and a whole lot of stuff. And so that's something that I'm just really, really being intentional about going forward. I want to be able to go to sleep at night and deal with whatever comes and not be worried, like I got to pay for this, I got to pay for that. I want to live a simple life. And I've simplified my life a lot in the last 6 months. And it's going to get a little more simple in the coming months. But, I'm really looking forward to that. Just like doing better because I know better. Next question. What's something you stayed in? Excuse me. Next question. What's something you stayed in way longer than you should have? My last two relationships. I mean, to be honest, I probably never should have got in it to begin with, but definitely shouldn't have stayed in it as long as I did. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Next, what's one business achievement you're most proud of that people don't really know about? You know, to be honest, so this is kind of a business achievement. It's not necessarily business, but it is a business thing. So when things really started to take a turn for me, um, when I set out, I shared that I prayed one day and I was like, God, I want to see 6-figure months. That was like my big, bold declaration. This was right after I had said, or this was right after I had just made 6 figures in a year for the first time in this particular business. I'd done it in other businesses. I had never done it with Boutique J.Renee. After my first 6-figure year, I said, God, I want 6-figure months. And I made a very intentional strategy. And once I started working that strategy and things were picking up, I didn't tell anybody that I was really making the kind of money I was making. And honestly, I was kind of nervous. Like, I was getting closer and closer. And the way that I kind of told somebody, which the first person I told was my mom. My mom has stuck her neck out for me so many times. Particularly in this season of my life, I had just got to a really rough place. I just wanted to give up. This was after I had moved to Atlanta. Nothing was going my way, and I had went home for a little bit to just reset. And during that time, my mom had a credit card that had like a high limit. I think at the time the limit might have been like $10,000, $12,000. She gave me that credit card, turned it over to me, and allowed me to use that credit card to buy inventory to get. Basically, when things were rolling like this, it was because my mom had given me this credit card and I was just flipping. And so I hadn't told my mom how much money I was making yet. But what I did do for her birthday, I went to the bank that I knew she had her car loan with, and I paid her car off. And I called her, and she was actually in Georgia at the time. This is when we were in Tennessee. She was actually at my grandparents' house because my grandparents had started to decline during that time. And so I'll never forget the moment where I FaceTimed my mom and showed my mom a receipt. And she was like, what's that? And I was like, I just paid off your car. Like, I'm getting emotional even just thinking about it. I can't explain. That was more gratifying to me than anything I've ever done for myself, than any accomplishment. Like, just being able to give back to the person that's given so much to me. Because none of this would be here. Let me tell you, even to this day, I'm still standing because I got a mom that rides for me. And so, yeah, that was probably the proudest moment for me. And I can't wait to just do above and beyond. Like, my mom is pretty simple. She really doesn't care about a lot of stuff, but I can't wait to like pull up outside her house in a Bentley and be like, go have fun, girl. Like, I'm doing all of this and I'm working the way that I'm working because I really would just love to be able to give my mama the world. So, shout out to my mama. All right. Next question. Oh, this is funny. What's the worst/best date you've ever been on? I'm going to start with the best. Because, baby, I live in Atlanta, and Atlanta's a wild place, and I've been on I got some stories. The best date I've ever been on, I like spontaneous travel. And I think the best date was literally like the person I was in at the time, I think it was like a Monday, and he was like, what are you doing tomorrow? I was like, nothing, what do I need to be doing? At that time, we were long distance. And he had me meet him in a random city because we were going to, I think it was a Chris Brown concert. We went to a Chris Brown concert in a random city on a Tuesday. He had like front row seats. And we literally just flew in, went to dinner, went to the concert, and then came back the next day. Um, yeah, we ended up getting into an argument, so I guess that wasn't the best date. But you know what? I think okay, maybe the date part was good. The after part, oh, Jesus. Okay, the worst date I've ever been on, child. Oh my God. I don't know why the bad dates always end up being double dates. And it was 2 bad double dates with my best friend. But okay, so okay. So I was trying to get my friend to like get back out and about on the scene. This was after like a ending, a breakup with her or whatever. So I was telling her like, girl, all you gotta do is just get out. Like, you know, just go to a restaurant, sit at the bar. You know, you'll meet somebody. You know, people will talk, whatever. Long story short, I was out one day. I was not looking for nobody. I wasn't interested in like going out on a date, whatever. But I meet this guy, and we're just talking. And this was some years ago. Okay. We're just talking, and he asked me what I was getting into tonight, and I was like, you know, I'm meeting up with my homegirl. You know, I'm trying to get her out and about, you know, so when she gets off work, we're going to meet up. And he was like, well, you know, me and my partner, we going to be moving around, you know, why don't y'all, you know, link up with us? And I was like, okay, cool. I called my friend. I was like, look, girl, I told you, all you got to do is just get out and about. You know, they going to be outside, you know, whatever. Child, this man calls me, and he was like, you know, what time your friend get off? We need to feed her. Notice he said, we need to feed her. And I was like, she gets off at like 8 or 9. Mind you, we already had plans to do what we were going to do. I was just going to tell him like, hey, we're going here. Y'all should meet up with us, you know. He said, we need to feed her. I'm like, okay. So he starts listing off all these steakhouses. Mind you, me and my friend eat good. Like, we do this like with a man or without a man. Like, so he's listing off these places, and I'm like, okay, cool. Long story short, we end up going to Roof Chris. We get to Roof Chris. Oh, he also said, my friend that's coming, you know, he a boss for real, so your friend better be some pressure. I should have known that was a red flag. I should have known. But, you know, I'm just like going in the wind. So we get to Roof Chris. His friend walks in looking like he just mowed a lawn. I'm talking about like dirt under his nails, everything, like basketball shorts. Like, it was just a mess, okay? So me and my friend, we order what we normally order, like we just eating. The friend orders a piece of chocolate. No, the guy that I met ordered a piece of chocolate cake. The friend ordered a Caesar salad. We at Roof Chris. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever. We keep, you know, going on throughout the day. The questions were very weird. They were very accusatory. It was almost like we were being interviewed. And then we find out the friend, y'all get this. The friend that homeboy or the guy said to me, my friend is a boss, so your friend better be some pressure. He had 9 kids and 14 grandkids. I wish my friend was here right now to verify, because y'all would not believe it. That man, and he just said it flippantly. We were like, do you have kids? You know, whatever. He said, yeah. We were like, how many? He said, 9. This man had 9 kids and 14 grandkids. Then, you know, conversation is very weird. It's very just like, it was just very strange questions that were being asked. And I think everybody was like ready to go. But, you know, we just tried to be cool. You know, we going to be polite. The check comes. Nobody's touching the check. We're still just talking, and they're about to close. So the waiter comes back, and he was like, you know, how do you want to handle this? And so the guy that invited us out, the guy that said we need to feed her, the guy that said your friend better be some pressure because my homie is a boss, yada, yada, yada. This guy pulls out his Amex, gives it to the waiter, and says, just pay for my chocolate cake. I don't know these girls. I just met them today. I kid you not. Immediately, we were like, what? Baby, look, we ain't got to play these types of games. Like, you know, we good. We can take care of ourselves, whatever. We getting our stuff out to pay. And this man said, now, if there's a second date, then I'll pay for the second. I said, a second? Baby, you should have paid for the first. Nah, babe, I don't play them types of games. I'm like, at this point, I'm hot. I'm ready to go. So I get my stuff, you know, I get my stuff and I'm walking out the restaurant. My friend's still sitting there. And I turned around like, girl, let's go. Like, what is happening? I felt like I was stuck in a matrix. Like, Atlanta is a weird place, child. Ooh, that just made me hot. I'll pay if it's a second date. Who do you think I am? That's something that, like, it just really bothers me. Like, men in Atlanta, I mean, and don't get me wrong. I think that there is a culture of women that are trying to use men so much that they're just extremely paranoid. But, I mean, you just got to have some type of discernment. Like, every girl is not trying to hang out to get some lemon pepper wings and a hookah. Every girl's not looking for a meal or some lunch money, baby. I can take myself out, weirdo. We laugh about it now, but in the moment, it was crazy. Like, I felt like I was being punked. And he's blocked. I don't even remember the man's name. Ciao. Woo! Next question. Did closing your business feel more like failure or freedom? That's a good question. A little bit of both. At first, it did kind of feel like failure, but this is the thing. I didn't have to close my business. I chose to do that. When I sat back and I looked at things and I just kind of looked at what moving forward was going to look like for me, it made sense for me to restructure, to relaunch, to just do things in a different way. And so it was by no means a failure. Like, I made the decision. My life in general at that time just didn't feel good. So at the moment, it did kind of, I guess it did feel like failure to me. Now it feels like freedom. Now I feel like I have the time and energy to do things like this that I didn't have the time and energy to do before. So it feels more like freedom now. And I knew once I get to the other side of this, I'm going to feel a lot better. But it hurts right now, you know? And so initially, yeah, it felt like it didn't feel good. It felt bad. But now it feels like freedom. I'm a lot more optimistic and excited about what's to come. And I know this next chapter is going to be my best chapter. So sometimes, you know, you got to go through the mud. A lot of questions about the business stuff. I'm going to skip. Have you ever made a financial decision that made you sick to your stomach after? Yes, buying my last house. Honestly, it made me sick to my stomach before. I knew I shouldn't have bought that house, to be honest. I wanted it. I really wanted it, and I'm the type of person that when I want something, I'm going to get it. But the night before, I actually called off the whole thing. I was like, I'm not going to do this. And they ended up just, everybody was trying to make it work. You know, the realtors going back and forth, you know, they just kind of did what they had to do to make it work. But I was never happy, to be honest. I was never happy the entire time I was in the house. Yeah. But, you know, I had to tell myself, you know, I have lost more on less. So whatever. A couple more questions. What kept you going when nothing seemed to be working? That's a good question. I've been in seasons where it felt like that. Even this last season of my life, to be honest, it's felt like a lot of consecutive no's. It's felt like I've always, one thing that I've always loved about myself is the fact that I'm a figure it outer, okay? I've never taken no for an answer. I pride myself in being able to figure out pretty much anything. Like, you know, any challenge, however much money I needed, however, like, whatever, I've always been able to figure it out. In this last season of my life, God has really humbled me a lot because this was the first time in my life I was presented with challenges that I couldn't fix. And this when I say this last season, I say like the last 18 months, like I'm used to being able to figure it out. I'm used to being able to fix it. I'm used to being able to make it work. And I could have made some things work, but I think I was so aware of my lack of peace that it just pulled the plug out of my back. I didn't really want to try anymore. Just ready to, I was just ready to give up on a lot of things. And so, the thing that's helped me continue to keep going when I've been in spaces like that, is number one, I really do believe God. I have a very strong sense of faith. And even when I don't feel it, I've learned how to fake it till I feel it. I've learned how to keep telling myself this has to work for my good because that's what God promised me. I've learned how to tell myself, God is never going to leave me and he's never going to forsake me. I've learned how to tell myself to be anxious for nothing, but in all things, with thanksgiving, through prayer and supplication, make my request known to God. He gonna do his thing. I've learned to tell myself, come to God with confidence, knowing that when you're praying, he's hearing you. I've learned to tell myself in due season, I'm gonna reap if I don't faint. I've learned to tell myself these things when it felt like everything in my life was falling apart. When I didn't even feel it, I've learned to fake it. I've learned to just remind myself of what God has said to me and said about me. And at this point, I have a lot of history with God. I have a lot of history with life. I've been down enough to know that down only lasts for so long. But if you keep going, eventually things are going to have to turn in your favor. You know, the only way it won't is if you just quit. So that's what's really helped me, reminding myself of what God has said about me and also reminding myself of my history. A couple more questions and I'm going to wrap this up. Let's see. How has dating been for you in this season? Be honest. Let me say this. I had gotten to the point, I think change comes when we get sick of ourselves. And I had gotten to the point where I was so tired of being disappointed in dating, I totally lost interest in it. Totally. Like 100%. Had no desire to date. But in talking through it, working through it, praying through it, I realized that yes, a lot of this is out of my control, but a lot of my experiences have been based on my poor decision making and me not being willing to have hard conversations and really stand up for things that were important to me. So this season of my life has been about me dating intentionally. And what I mean by dating intentionally, I mean not wasting my time. I mean, I say what I say and I mean what I say. And I'm okay with how you feel about it. Whether it goes this way or that way, I'm cool with it. And so that's made dating a lot easier for me in this space. I'm not going for the BS anymore. I'm not just going along to get along. I'm not just going along for a free meal because I don't care about that. I can get my own meal. And it's quality over quantity for me. I don't want you around if you're not quality. I wish I could go back. I don't regret a lot of things in my life, but I definitely regret some of the people that I've allowed to have access to me. I never even should have looked their way. They never should have had my phone number, you know? And so I'm just in a space where I'm being intentional about protecting me, about protecting who I am, protecting what I'm building, and not allowing people that have no business being anywhere in my sphere. You know, I'm just not letting those people into my life anymore. I know who I am. I know what I have to offer. I know what I bring to the table. And I know what I want. And if it's not that, I'm just not going for what I don't want. And that's pretty simple. I've actually become very comfortable with saying no to what I don't want. And that's changed dating for me. Totally. 100%. Totally. So yeah, I say that I feel more confident about my decision making with dating. Now, I'll just say that. Last question These are some really, really good questions, guys. I'm gonna have to do this again. If you could go back in time and change one thing about your life, what would you change? That is so hard. If I could go back in time, I don't think I would change anything, to be honest. My life has been full of ups and downs. I've had really high highs and really low lows, but I can see how everything that I've been through, God has been using that strategically to get me to the place that I'm at now. I would not have the wisdom that I have if I hadn't experienced a lot of the stuff that I've experienced, even in business. The way that I can teach entrepreneurs from a well of experience, it hits different. There's so many people out here selling courses and trying to be gurus and teach you how to do stuff they've never even done. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to teach you how to create results that they can't sustain. You know, they're trying to teach you how to get here when they haven't even lived through the possibilities of there, you know, and I've lived through so much that I think my experience is invaluable. So I wouldn't change anything. There are people that I've lost. There are family members that I've lost, time that I wish I could get back. You know, my dad, my grandparents. You know, it's a lot of things that, you know, holistically, yeah, it would be nice if I had more time with my dad or, you know, whatever. But I can see how every one of my steps has been ordered by God to get me to this point. And, you know, I'm grateful to be here. I am. And with that, I think I'm going to close this episode out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've enjoyed talking to you guys. I've enjoyed having coffee time with J.Renee. Yeah, we're going to have to do this again. But I hope your takeaway today is that, you know, life is full of ups and downs, good, bad, ugly, and different. But everything, ultimately, it has to work out for your good. And if it's not good yet, it's because it's not the end. So keep going. Okay? I'm your host, J.Renee. Make sure you're following me on all social platforms at All Things J.Renee. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how you like this episode. And if you have some more questions, comment below. Let me know your questions. I'd love to do this again. And yeah, until next time, see you later.